Hey there, you can see the little gravel patch over my shoulder. That works. I've been thinking about that because I want to come up with some kind of shade structure. I'm thinking orange metal roof to match the house, but I don't want to enclose it because it's supposed to be a nature area. But the Thai sun is it's just not a good idea. With my complexion, it's not a good idea to spend too much time in the Thai sun. Skin cancer runs on both sides of my family, so we're not doing that. Oh, cold water, cold mineral water, I guess that'd be nice. Hope that's true. I don't have like a specific narrow point that I want to really get to. I mean, I got a whole bunch written down. I just don't feel like doing that today. I think what would be helpful and what I kind of feel like talking about is maybe give a little update on myself and some things that maybe worked for me and didn't work for me or whatever. Maybe I can think about that a little bit. And then just a general overview of like what it's like here versus back home. The first thing that comes to mind is like, growing up in the 80s and through the 90s as, young men and young adults and all that stuff. And I was a young adult in 82, but that was a while ago. But anyways, no, and we watch those movies and they'll always talk about China and, saving face, and the Chinese need to save face. And that seems to be like, I don't know this for sure, okay? If you say, in Cambodia they don't do that, okay, great, I believe you, because I wouldn't know. But it from everybody that I've talked to who's from some Asian country, they seem to all talk about the idea of saving face, and then losing face, and they don't like that second one. They don't like that at all. Us Westerners, when we come here, we really get that one wrong. We I think, way underestimate how important that is. And it's like maybe the single most important thing out of the entire culture. So you want to really have that in mind. And then maybe the second most important thing, see, now we're going somewhere, is being flexible in your thinking. And I'm gonna make a statement, and you guys tell me if you think it's true, but I think this is true. Whoever says, "Oh yeah, I'm really flexible in my thinking," is completely inflexible in their thinking. That's been my experience. If you say, "Oh, I'm super flexible," you're probably really inflexible. That sounds weird, but that's been my experience over the last few years as I think about it, and I had that experience recently. That doesn't make somebody not a nice guy or not a reasonable person, but if you're not flexible in your thinking, then I think you're going to have a hard time sort of adapting to this culture. I mean, you're never going to blend in. And this is interesting, and I always forget which way it goes, but there's a particular accent for someone from Cambodia, and there's an accent speaking Thai, and there's someone from Myanmar or Burma speaking Thai, and both those groups, their Thai is on a whole other level. I will never get to that level. I don't even aspire to try to get to that level, and the Thais immediately go, "Oh, that's and they have a word for it. I'm not going to say, but because these just don't sound respectful. They probably are, but I just don't want to say it. But they'll say, "Oh, that's a Cambodian person," or that's a Myanmar person, and they immediately know. And I'm at a point now with the more you hear the language spoken, the more you can actually hear it and understand and hear the various tones and the details of it. Again, when I first heard Thai spoken, I was in the United States, and I kind of turned my head. This woman was speaking. I knew she was speaking Thai 100%, and it was the first time I focused, trying to listen and hear what she said. And I'm telling you, all my ears could tell me is she was saying various versions of the vowel E. It just sounded like E, 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 E. That's all I thought, my gosh, that language is impossible. And then, of course, she was saying that the language is impossible. You're wasting your time to try and learn it. And then I'm like, that's the first. I was like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Why would I consider retiring somewhere and not? Why would the language be? And she was like, oh, it's a bad idea. And I'm like, Well, how would I explain? How would that be bad if I spoke? And it turns out she maybe wasn't the nicest person. She was nice to me for a while, and she was nice and friendly and kind of selling the whole concept to Thailand. But I'll put it this way: I really pity her husband. I got to, I got to know them a little bit, and I he's not maybe the nicest person, anyways, but he's getting worse than he deserves by probably any measure. But I digress, as I often do. But so I think, and making yourself more flexible in your thinking, I don't know how you do that. For me, when I want to do something, and it inherently goes against my core biases, my core tendencies, my core wants, my core likes, like my core beliefs, then I don't go against those things. I've learned that lesson long ago. But the core momentum of what I tend to want to do or react or whatever, if I want to change that, what I'll do is you can think of it, if you're a spiritual person like I am, you can say, well, then I pray on it. If you're a more meditative or what's the other word? I can't think of it right now. Philosophical person, then meditate on it. It matters not in terms of how you change your thinking, probably. You can, either way, you can change your the way you feel about something. And I'll give you one simple example. I always hated swimming. I loved always my whole life loved being by the water. I loved to sit and look at the water. I'd wade out in it, maybe so deep. That was it. Just didn't like swimming. And I could swim. I went to a swimming class and all the stuff through high school, and I swam average, but I never liked it. And then my doctors kept telling me, Rob, with your back, you got to swim. And I'm like, I'm like, yeah, doc, yeah. And I'm thinking, there's no flipping way. I'm just gonna pacify this guy, and I'm leaving his office. I'm never swimming. And then the spine doctor here that was successful with actually doing his job correctly, thank you, Dr. Wisharn, he kept emphasizing, I'm like, okay, well, this guy does know what he's talking about, and I really just focused my thinking on it. I wouldn't say necessarily I prayed about it all the time. Sometimes I just thought about it, and now I love swimming. I love it. I love swimming, and I'm probably building a pool at some point. Probably going to wait until I financially recover a little more. Maybe I'll sign a contract with a pool company, by Christmas or something. I don't know. Maybe that'll be more like February, March. Hey, building a pool through the hot season, that'll be fun for those poor guys. Maybe we won't do that to them. Yeah, and I think it'll go in the front yard. I thought about where I want to put it, and I like this view too much. Like, I like this garden. I like this whole thing. I get my little shade structure. Hang on the shade structure, the thing there is, because I'm going to forget if I don't say it right now, I want to be able to see the stars, because I love to come out at night and sip a bourbon, smoke a cigar, and look at the stars. I have had way worse things happen to me in my life than sitting, relaxing in a comfortable chair, looking up at the sky and just thinking my thoughts and thinking loving thoughts to the people that I love and love me back. And it's got to be both, or I don't think about them anymore. I used to say, hey, well, I'll just, that man, some people I don't understand. And no, but I want to be able to do that, but I want the shade. So the roof's got to be just only so far and at such an angle. It's going to have to be a tad scientific, I'm sorry to say. Well, I just figured out how I want to do that. So yeah, so we're going to do that. And then, so that's changing yourself, and that's being open-minded. And most of us Western guys, as we're older, are the opposite. We represent the absolute antithesis of being open-minded. And I think you should challenge yourself by saying, okay, I know I'm not open-minded about everything. Obviously, you might start off thinking, oh, I know I'm open-minded. But you got to admit, okay, you're not open-minded probably about everything, right? And then start to widen that, and then just try to be more open to different ways of thinking and viewing things and getting along with people and such. And the reason I think this would be good for you is you're going to meet a lot of really weird, a lot of really weird people here overseas, and it's not terrible. I love it. You can see how happy I am, and you could not have come here in much worse shape than I landed. I mean, and I did things you shouldn't do. I did lots of things you shouldn't do, hence the channel. But I mean, one of the things I did that you shouldn't do is I came here without having my pension situation all set. I had one of the two, and you really, in my case, I need both to really, do it. And that was rugged. That was really, I never would have imagined it would take so long to get all that sorted. And Fawn actually helped me. She kept reminding me, Rob, did you file that paperwork? I'm like, I don't want to be in pain. She goes, you got to file that paperwork. And she really, and I was like, and I did halfway, honestly, just to kind of appease her a little bit. And she doesn't normally, it's very rare for a Thai woman to throw her opinion out like that. Even Fawn, who's maybe a little bolder than most traditional Thai women. And I did, and then finally I sent them a snotty letter, which was her idea, to be honest. And then it might have been a coincidence, I couldn't tell you, but all of a sudden I was cleared, and it showed out. It just showed I went to my portal, and then it just showed status active, everything active, and I'm like, and I'm staring at it, I'm like, it's got to be a dream. I'm looking at it, I really didn't believe it, and I'm like, there's no other way to interpret that, but I'm finally in, and then they, like 2 weeks later, it hits my bank account, they back paid me. I'm like, so go Fawn, value of a good woman. You might want to think about that. So that one you can do yourself. The flexible thinking, I think that's critical here, because you're going to meet, with the local people, they have very different customs and ways of doing things, ways of engaging. Again, go soft, go slow, go quiet. You be like a submarine here. There's the analogy. You want to be like a submarine. Just putting your periscope up once in a while, or keep your periscope up and keep looking, but you're not saying a whole lot. This is the way, my people. That is the way. I think that's the smart way. I see guys doing that. That is so smart. I see that. I'm like, I know what you're doing. That's smart as hell. So the flexible thinking. And then with the Westerners here, like I say in my book, which fourth edition is out now. So with the Westerners, what you will find is that people, even from your home country, are entirely different from the people that you might know back home. And then, from another English, if you're an English speaker, native English speaker, and, you're from the UK or you're from the US, you might meet people from the other country and think they're exactly like you, and you find, whoa, they're really different. They're not what you were thinking. That's been my experience, and everybody else here. I ask all my friends these kinds of questions all the time. We talk about this, and they all say the same thing. Generally, you'll have a somewhat, like they're not going to attack you or something, but to say that you'll be pals, that's one of Fawn's cousins. I get along well with him. He just bought a red couch. But you'll find that just getting along is harder. A lot of people want to drag international politics into you having a hamburger and a beer quietly in the corner of a restaurant. And all of a sudden, international politics, they're challenging you. Well, what do you think? What do you believe? Who are you? What do you? And I've had that. Now, I've only had that maybe 3 times total in the almost 5 years I've lived here. But it's kind of like, now I got to stop enjoying my hamburger and my beer. And I usually pick pretty good beer. I usually pick the restaurant by the draft selection, because if I'm going to have a rare beer, I want it to be a good one. And I got to stop enjoying all that and my quiet and my peace. And I have to start now making decisions moment by moment. Okay, is this person threatening me? What I find is like the German guys here, Joey, they're fine and everything, but they really just stick to they're the German guys. But you got to understand too, most of them speak English, but it's not their first language, and some of them have terrible English. Some of them have fantastic English, but it's probably a lot of work for their brain, same as for me when I'm speaking Thai. And their English might be way better than my Thai, but I'm thinking it's probably still work for them. And then they probably want to talk about Germany and the whatever, and then their favorite city and when they went there on their vacation. They're not. I'm not going to know any of that. So we end up with, only thing we have in common is international politics, which is going to go south quickly. So I think, that, and then there's just a lot of strange people come here. I don't know how else to say it. But, maybe it's not, I don't know how much different it is from back home, because back home, I'm not friends with the overwhelming majority of the population either. Back home, I have a handful of good friends, and the other 99.9% of people I don't give any time to, because they're generally not worth it. So I don't know what to say about that, but I tell you, when you're over here, you are going to have to be more armored on how you think and how you engage, and this whole going slow and quiet is the way, man. And then that flexibility of thinking. So we've covered that one. I'd like to share my thoughts then on the whole saving face. This culture is based on that, and like I was saying, we see all those Chinese movies or whatever, and all the Chinese and this. But as far as I can tell, it's the Koreans, it's the Cambodians, it's the Myanmar people, whatever you call that. The Vietnamese, I don't think they like losing face either. And in America, no one really likes looking bad, which is what saving face really means. But it is more important here. It's like a cultural pillar here, and if you cause someone to lose face, they really don't like that. Like really don't like that. And for the women, one of their biggest fears is the fear of potentially possibly losing face, and the fear of potentially maybe somebody could be saying something bad about them somewhere. Like when I talk to Fawn about something, there's a situation where some lady was doing something kind of strange she shouldn't be doing, and then Fawn's like, well, then Fawn, she'll start talking about, well, hope she doesn't say something bad about me. But, and Fawn like did or said the right thing or whatever. Another lady wanted to go get drunk and Fawn wouldn't or something, whatever it was. And she's like, well, I hope she isn't saying bad things about me. I mean, it was like, and then it's like she's hoping that lady isn't even thinking bad things about her. So it's a core thing. And then we don't really value it that way inherently when we come here. At least us Americans don't. I don't know about people from Germany or the UK or Scandinavian countries. I don't know how they feel about it, but to us Americans is all I can say. We don't tend to think about that. We think, well, that's no big deal, but it really, it's I can't even tell you how important it is. It's so important. As much as I could possibly make a big analogy, it's even more than that. Like you really got to take that into account in your actions. So that's why a lot of time people are shy around us, because if they're talking with us and we're a native English speaker, well, English is the second language here in Thailand. So they're maybe thinking they're supposed to know it because they graduated high school or they have a degree of some kind or whatever it is. And then if they don't speak like fluently, clearly, and perfectly, if you make one comment of, gee, I don't understand what you're saying, they're thinking they could have lost face with that. They won't even go over and talk to you. And then when you're wearing beach attire and a tourist outfit and all that and a big floppy hat and whatnot, and that isn't really how they do things here, And I would like to say every once in a while, and it hasn't happened in a while, but just to be clear, I'll have somebody say, well, Rob, the Thais don't really all dress that nice. I'm in the village and they're in a poor rural rice farming village like I am. And they're like, oh, well, and I see the guys and they're dressed like this or that. Yeah, they're working the farm, or they're like the lower income people in a rural farming village. That isn't the look you're trying to copy to go on a date with a nice little lady that's more than likely 10 years or more younger than you, and probably attractive, and maybe from a good family, hopefully. That's really important here, by the way. You want to make a good impression. So appearances, saving face, or maybe kind of the same thing just for this conversation. And you want to look good. I mean, when I'm in my village here, and particularly if I'm in, Fawn's family lives in, basically you could think of it as all the pieces of land touch each other. They're all adjacent. Within this compound, including the one corner store, which is all of, 150 yards from her parents' house, which is owned by one of her relatives. And I walk by, half the houses I walk by are her direct relatives. I see at all the family functions. I may or may not be wearing a shirt on a hot day if I'm getting my vitamin D therapy. And the other guys aren't either. And I'm in low class, chilling, just letting it all hang out mode. I don't know what to tell you. I grew up in the 70s and all that. And, that's just, I wish I had a good photo, but back in the day, I used to have long hair. How about that? So, can you picture that one? Is that weird? I can't picture it either. And I had it. I used to have shoulder length hair. The big parted, like the early 60s kind of look, not the late 60s look, which is fine. I don't care, but that was just not my thing. Anyways, but I do that. And then, anytime I'm going to the city, I've worn a muscle shirt to the city in almost 5 years. I've done that maybe 5 or 10 times ever. And that's just been on a really, really hot day. There's days I know I'm going to be outside for an extended period of time. We got an outdoor park thing we're going to for whatever reason, and we're not waiting until it's late at night, or it's still hot when it's going to be 6, 7 o'clock. It's still going to be hot. And maybe it rained the day before, and now you have the rare humidity. Typically it's hot and dry here, and it's really honestly not that bad. As you saw in the bonus footage in a recent video. In fact, I think I was wearing this shirt. I love this shirt. Friend gave this to me. Thank you, Johnny. And, but I'll do that. But otherwise, if I'm in the city, I'm wearing a collared shirt, button-down shirt like this, or sometimes a polo shirt. I find these are cooler. And honestly, I wear these thin, soft flannels. And that's kind of the original wicking fabric, if you think about it. And those are not that uncomfortable. If I'm going from my air-conditioned car to an air-conditioned language school, Usanese language school, and then I'm going to an air-conditioned mall or something later, or an air-conditioned restaurant, why wouldn't I wear these thin, really soft flannels? I bought a lot of them used here, and they're really worn thin. There are no holes in them, or they look good, and Fawn will iron them. I get my flannels ironed now, and they look nice. And it's casual, and that flannel is kind of a country, Isan, rural. A man will wear a flannel a fair bit, and women too. And I'm from Michigan. Flannel's like the national flag in Michigan, so I enjoy wearing that, and that's sort of, I wouldn't say I blend in, but sort of goes with their culture. But I'm always dressing like that. And I'm a jeans guy, so I have like 6 pairs of nice jeans of different styles, mostly from the brand McJeans. I've never seen so much attention and engineering put into a freaking pair of jeans in my life. I mean, some are certain levels of stretchy or not, and they fit this way or that way. And you can look at it and tell someone put some thought into this, and it's like, wow, So they're honestly, for the $15, which is expensive here, I like them, and they're comfortable. So, and that's like the thing here. So I wear those, and I wear 1 or 2 pieces of gold typically, just to show that I get the culture. And I am a retired gentleman small business owner, so I dress and act like one. I always was a slob my whole life. Rob's such a dandy or a show-off or something. I dress like a slob my entire life, so let me earn some points with the haters. And my plan always was to clean myself up and not be a slob my entire life. And I said, I always told myself, when I retire, I'm going to stop letting myself off the hook on this, and I'm going to dress like a decent human being, and I'm going to be a proper retired guy and all that. Now, honestly, that was my plan the whole time. And so when I used to come home covered in plastic from my first plastic shop, my jeans would literally stand up. My first wife, ex-wife sounds so passive-aggressive. My first wife used to stand them up in the garage. She'd make me undress in the garage, and she'd stand my jeans up in the garage just to make a joke out of it, because they were stiff with plastic resin just all over them. And it was miserable, smelly, crazy work. But I kind of loved it, and I was doing my own thing, and, it didn't make me a super rich guy or anything, but I did okay with it, and I didn't have to listen to everybody else telling me what to do all the time. So for me, it worked. But no, all that stuff, and so here I am. I finally cleaned myself up, and I just live below my means, and well, kind of almost too. My live below my means. Maybe that's not really a fair comment, because my plan is to spend basically every penny of my pensions pretty much every month, other than keeping some reserve, because there's no 10 years from now, I'll be so much better. 10 years from now, I'm in my 70s. I doubt I'll be more mobile than today. Although I have seen some guys in their 70s doing really well. I'll tell you, I was in Bangkok doing one of my regular doctor visits, I think is what it was. And I was getting a bag out of our room that we stayed at for the night, and I think we're going to the doctor's office that morning. And I was really, this is like 6 months ago or something, and maybe 8 months ago. And I was just hurting that day. It was kind of a typical day, but I was hurting, and I was really dragging. It was really hard to walk upstairs. It was really hard. Fawn carried almost all the luggage for me, but for crying out loud, she's 110 pounds, and we had one kind of big bag, or it was heavy anyway. It wasn't big, but it was heavy, and I just felt terrible, and so I took that up the stairs, and I was really struggling taking a heavy carry-on size bag up the steps, like one step at a time. And this guy, clearly in his 70s, he was absolutely a decade older than me, but he was lean and fit. And he just walked by, and he's like walking just like his natural pace was just super fast. And I was like, dang, there's hope. I mean, here's this guy, and and he's doing that. I'm like, I want that, and I hope I'll get there. But I am recovering more. And update part. So you got to look good here, and you got to look good in what you're doing. And if you don't like that, then you're gonna suffer here, and there's just no other way to say it. And that's your call. And we're all adults. We make our choices. So that's the end of that. But for my update, I continue to do better. What I did is I went from 3 days a week lifting weights. I went to 4. So I went Monday. I was going every other day with Usini. So every other day learning Thai language with Usini, and then every other day from that, every opposite day from that, weightlifting. So it's going to the city every day, which was a lot of driving, which maybe wasn't good for my back. But that way, each day I only had like a couple hours of activity, and I went home, took a nap, and laid down and took some medicine and recovered. And then I got to the point where I could combine those together, and I'm doing that now, and that's been successful. And now on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have learning Thai with Usini, and I do my weightlifting, and I have a couple hours in between. I'll either go get a massage, I'll get lunch, I'll just go get a small egg plate. There's this one place in town called Cough-Tail, all one word, and they have the best egg plate in town. It's just the best one. There's just no other way to say it. And their coffee is good, and their green tea lattes are pretty good. They're not the best that I used to get, but I haven't been able to find the really, really good ones again lately. So theirs is maybe the best I can find for now. It's good. It's just not the wow, amazing that I used to get. But I have that, and I can sit. They have an air-conditioned inside and a very nice porch outside. And depending on the weather, I like to do that. I like to thermoregulate like a reptile. I think I'm part reptile. And I can do my homework, and it's right by Usini's school. And I just get on the road, and it takes me almost right to her school. It's really easy. So I do that. And then on the opposite days, I was then recovering at home. And now, finally, I'm starting to take a morning walk. I'm watering my own garden now. I used to have Fawn's parents watered. I never even had to ask. They just watered it for me. They knew I couldn't move. Now I can water my own garden. And Fawn does it, or one of her boys does it if I'm actually tired or don't freaking feel like it, or I need them to do something productive. Then we do that. But now I'm watering it. And the next thing is I want to go and just study some Muay Thai. I'm not going to do any Muay Thai fighting. Obviously, I cannot take a hit to the head. I can't. A friend of mine here was driving the other day, and I warned him about a big speed bump up ahead, and I forgot to warn him just as we got to it. And it's a gigantic freaking. It's a crazy speed bump you would only have in Thailand. And I was turned my head talking to him, forgot about the speed bump, and he hit it at an angle, and my whole body went flying. My freaking neck hurt the rest of the day and into the night. Finally, it's the pain. Yeah, it's gone. But that was like, geez, I worked hard to not get mad at him because he obviously didn't intend to do that. But I was angry that happened. I'm like, damn it, But anyway, so I'll just go and study some Muay Thai, which if you're a martial arts guy, you know how that works. You can do all kinds of motion study and stuff, and that's actually. They say between 90% and actually very close to 100% as effective as actually sparring, as crazy as that sounds. We've trained militaries that way for thousands of years, and it was very, very effective. So, and quite frankly, let me check. I don't care. I'm old, and I want the neural pathway activity. That's what I want. I want that, and I want some way to get some of my aggression out or whatever. Get my mojo going a little bit excessively. Some days I want an outlet for that. So. I don't want to work a heavy bag anymore. That's too hard on my body, too much impact on my elbows and my shoulders and stuff like that. It's just not. That's probably not healthy. But I wouldn't mind maybe doing a lighter bag, maybe a speed bag, maybe get back into the speed bag thing. That's very good for your brain, I think, in my opinion. And the speed bag doesn't hit you back. I want to hit things that don't hit me back. I'm 62 years old. How about that? So that's kind of what's going on. Those are two big things, I think, that are important. I mean, I'm not saying they're the two biggest, but they're up there, and that's kind of how I'm doing. And it's a beautiful day, as you can see. Look at this, and I got to further pondicate my little square of gravel in my fire pit there. I think we got to move the fire pit this way, maybe to the edge of the gravel, make room for some kind of angled shade structure. It's got to be on a compound angle, 2 angles. I want it to shield against the sun the maximum amount and cover the actual sky the minimal amount. And I'll never be under there before 2 in the afternoon. So we'll just match it to the shade angle at 2 in the afternoon. And as we go from winter to summer sun motion, I'll do my best. I'm not Copernicus or whatever. How that all goes, I'm not exactly sure. So, but we'll do our best. Hey, thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Channel membership's really been growing. Super sweet. Thank you. I see all the subscribers are doing great, and I changed the rules on comments. You got to be a subscriber for 1 day prior to making a comment, and now I just get about maybe every month, maybe just barely a handful of snotty comments, and then maybe only 1 or 2 comments intended to hurt me or some other person. The comments just strictly intended just to hurt, which is odd that someone would use their time that way. There's motorcycle channels, and I am going to humbly submit to you, sir, that the Harley-Davidson community is rather tightly focused on what's good or not, and I might disagree with this one. Two channels or so that I watch, I would never go on there and go, well, you don't know, you're a dad, blah, 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 and further, and your mother, I would never, what kind of, my gosh, anyway, so it's been a long way to learn this, but I do finally see it 100% for what it is. Those are people that have problems with themselves. So I just blocked all of them. And ever since then, it's been maybe 4 months now. Man, it's been so nice. Nobody attacking some of my regular commenters. I really didn't like that. If they attacked a regular good commenter, I would ban them after a couple of tries. And now I see those people after the first one, and you're out. Because before I was doing 3 strikes and you're out, and all I was doing was counting to 3 out, counting to 3 out. They would just keep going. They're an interesting group. Anyways, take care. Really appreciate it. Love you guys. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. If you're thinking of coming here, great idea. Just put your thinking cap on a little bit and make some good plans. Take care. I have a particularly pretty slideshow this week. I just love this photograph. I took this from my seat at the table, having my steak and my Jack and Coke and my cigar, looking at Fawn. She was so beautiful. This was in that Bang Saray beach, and that place is a strong recommend. Really, it's very, very nice and a little quieter than the rest of it around here. And then here's a lovely, lovely traditional photo of Fawn. This is how you want to see a lady dressed from time to time, and if you're really lucky, this is how you would like to see a traditional lady dressed in a rare while, maybe once or twice a year at an event or something. My gosh, she's so beautiful. Here's Yui's husband helping Kun Pa fix the pump on his sprayer for his farm. And here's another beautiful traditional photo of Fawn. This was an event for one of the king's sisters. That's one of the princesses. And then here's Fawn making up the room, final things for our new renter. And then here's a really good, that's Johnny. That's my really good friend Johnny. You can't see his face. He's in shadow, so I'll leave this. And Fawn ran up, saw them coming to the restaurant to meet us for dinner with his wife, Nui. And we had a little meeting there. I just wanted to capture the moment, and I took this photo. And then here, I'll leave you with this photo. What a lovely date. This is Rob. Video's over. I'm closing my gate. But if you've been liking or subscribing, and praise God, if you've been a member of the channel, I really appreciate you. I appreciate everyone that watches. You have a great day.